Back to politics now. A letter from a Joe Biden insider is raising some new questions about whether the vice president will make a run for the White House. And the message hints that he is nearing a decision.
The letter also commented on what a Biden campaign would look like. Quote, I think it's fair to say, knowing him, as we all do, that it won't be a scripted affair. After all, it's Joe. Joining us from our Washington bureau is Kevin Cirilli, reporter at The Hill. Kevin, thanks for being with us. Earlier this week, there were reports that if Hillary Clinton had a strong enough debate performance, Joe Biden wouldn't feel the need to run, though this letter seems to hint otherwise.
Well, I think some of those reports were coming from the Clinton supporters who would like to not have Joe Biden enter into the race. But clearly the vice president is still very carefully weighing his decision. Of course, Secretary Clinton is set to testify on Capitol Hill in the next couple of weeks about her email server and the use of that email server. She's also being investigated by the FBI. But, you know, the bottom line is that Vice President Biden, if he is to get into this race, is going to run as himself and really is not going to be making a decision based upon his chances. If he chooses to run for president, his supporters argue it will be because he believes he has the best vision for the country.
Kevin, the question I think a lot of Washington insiders have right now is, has the ship sailed? Because off the back of the Democratic debate, people were saying that both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders had strong performances. The time would have been to probably take that that standby podium that CNN had to take to get onto the debate there, and perhaps the ship has sailed. What do you say to that?
No, simply for two reasons. The first is name recognition. Vice President Joe Biden doesn't need an introduction to the country. Everyone, particularly the Democrats, already know who he is. And the second, of course, is from a strategy standpoint, him getting in later into the race could potentially even help him. He doesn't really he's not expected to do well in Iowa or New Hampshire. The expectations are so low. And so he would be well positioned for a longer game. Obviously, he needs to get the ball rolling in terms of infrastructure as well as in terms of raising money. Hillary Clinton has a huge she's been doing that for years, and so she has a head start on that. Those are the two challenges and hurdles that he would need to overcome.
Kevin, I want to ask you about the Republican side, because earlier today on CBS This Morning, Jeb Bush said that his message is resonating, he said, with voters. But the polling, of course, does not seem to reflect that. What is the reality here of the race for Jeb Bush right now?
The reality here of the race is that he had an enormous showing earlier on in what's known as the pre-campaign period, where he got a lot of money, big bucks from establishment Republicans, and that hasn't been able to translate. I think that Jeb Bush has not been able to connect in terms of how, at this point in history and this American moment where there is so much anger and furor, rightfully so and justified at Washington, how is he the right man for the job, or woman for the job, but how is he the right candidate for this particular time? He hasn't been able to answer that question. And you know, I mean, a Bush and a Clinton matchup, I mean, I don't think that a new generation of voters in their 30s and 40s and late 20s really, you know, I think he hasn't been able to put that behind him.
Kevin, let me ask you about Donald Trump and Dr. Ben Carson. They've rallied together to alter the format of the upcoming GOP debate. The pair issued a letter to CNBC Washington bureau chief threatening to boycott the debate if it wasn't shortened. Have you ever seen a move like this?
No. You know, I interviewed Mr. Trump for about 90 minutes earlier this week in his office. And, you know, this is someone who is really enjoying himself. This is someone who clearly knows that and follows all of the ratings about that he's getting all of these shows, and including the debates. And so, you know, I think that he, from his perspective, that, you know, a 3-hour debate is really kind of too much, he feels, for the country. But I got to be honest, as a political junkie, I love 3-hour debates. I could watch them debate each other for so long. I wish they would maybe stick to a little bit more policy, but, you know, you can't have everything you want.
All right. Kevin Cirilli from The Hill, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.